Okay, hi everybody. Um, are you guys, thank you for waving. That's very friendly. Um, are you guys familiar with Kahoot? I guess it's like a thing people do in high school sometimes. I I have triplets, step triplets, and my kids are twins, so there's 5 kids in our house, and my kids are in 8th grade and the triplets are in 10th grade, and told me about Kahoots. So I made one. I'm kind of like not that. I practiced once with my son and my husband, so hopefully I know what I'm doing. But want to do one now? So I guess you can either download the app or you can just go to the web page, and we can stay on Zoom because you can't see the question. I thought the questions would show up on your phone, but they don't. You can just answer on your phone or your web page or whatever, right? So so does everyone know how to do it? Isn't it K-A-8? Well, I'll share screen. Hold on. Where'd it go? Oh, I think I have it on Safari. Oh, did I close it? Sorry. Oh, here it is. It's making noise. That's not it. Let's see. Can you guys see the Kahoot? Oh, you can. Okay. All righty. And let's see. Do you guys all have it open or on your phone? You can
Yes.
chat me if you don't. Oh, and can I have a volunteer to help me with who's chatting me?
I
I
can.
got you.
Okay, who is that? Is that Aaron?
Nah, Amanda said it first.
Amanda?
I
Okay.
can do it.
So, okay, is anyone chatting me?
Not
Okay,
now.
does everybody have Kahoot? I have to scroll through 2 screens to see you all. So it looks like everyone has it. All right, so minimize you. All right, let's start it. I think, yeah, it's only 10 questions. Live game together. That'll be fun. Classic. Yeah, I'm not doing teams. Game on? Okay. So there's the pin. Oops. And there should be about 29 of you. Pretty good. All right, that's a lot of people, so I'm going to start. Oh, is there music? I made music. What the hell? I put disco in there. Oh, does that mean everybody answered or it was timed? Did anybody not get to answer?
It's time for like 15 seconds. So if you don't answer, you just don't get anything.
Oh, can you change the timing?
I just checked settings, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I haven't been, there's not enough settings options. Maybe I need to upgrade or something. But we'll just stick with this for now so I don't spend class trying to like perfect Kahoot. That would be boring. Okay, so I guess you have 15 seconds. I didn't realize. Okay, yeah, so the correct answer for that was based on observation, including experimentation. I guess the second best answer would be a method based on forms of logical argument. And you do base your hypothesis and your theory on logical argument, but then the empirical method means you test it. Okay, Wanda, I guess Wanda answered first. Congratulations, Wanda. Oh, now I see the timer. Okay, people know that one. Yeah, the PsyD. So that's what's called more of a professional degree, like getting an MD or like a doctor of jurisprudence, like being a lawyer or becoming a dentist. That's when you kind of learn a trade. You know, you learn an applied method of helping a clientele. And the only drawback of those kind of programs is you pay a lot of tuition for those in most cases. Like you can if you go to medical school at UMass and at medical school in Worcester, you know, you get a really low tuition, but it's super competitive for that reason. Okay, next. Oh, Wanda's like got lightning hands, I guess. And Lauren, Jackie, Viola. Is it Shada or Shada, or how do you pronounce your name?
It's Sade.
Sade. So I'm still wrong even when I try. Kind of like the musician. Okay. Good job, guys. Next question. All right, so yeah, people knew it was a lot of people knew it was either structuralism or functionalism. But when you're picking one of those, think about the word functional versus structural. A function is a purpose or, you know, a meaning or a reason behind it, or why it'd be adaptive, or why it's a why. And the structural, you know, is what if the structure of something is the building blocks, you know, the bricks, the foundation. That'll help you make that distinction. Okay. Okay, great. Sarah has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row. Congratulations, Sarah. We need like a talk show host. No, that's not my forte. Okay, next one. Good, yeah, people know that one. Awesome. Probably the other best answer would be Carl Rogers, because those two are both humanists. But yeah, it's Maslow, and we'll talk more about him today. Okay. Wow. 5 players with an answer streak. guess. Okay, most of you got it right. Good. And at least, you know, Watson is a behaviorist, so that's close. All right, yeah, but Skinner was he was a real gadgeteer. He was a real inventor. So he had a lot of gadgets that he made to improve studying things using behaviorism. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. At least the majority are getting these things right. Yeah. The key word there is consistent pattern, the key words. What makes something a personality is that somebody acts that way all the time, right? So if I started screaming at you guys, hopefully you wouldn't call that my personality, especially like at the end of the semester when you really knew me. You wouldn't think, you'd be like, whoa, what was that? That's not like her. That's not her personality. If somebody does something all the time, if it's consistent and it's a pattern, that becomes that personality. So if you describe your friend's personality as, really conscientious, that means that they're really thoughtful and prompt and doing what they're supposed to do all the time as a pattern. All right. Neck and neck. I know this. Okay, yeah, I was surprised people were answering so fast. Yeah, it's 2/3. It's like almost 65%, I think. Yeah, it's either 65 or yes, it's almost 65%, which is really scary. Of course, they weren't actually administering electrical shocks, but as far as they knew they were, it was a sham experiment, meaning that that the person getting electrical shocks supposedly was an actor. It wasn't attached. But as far as the people in the study knew, that actor was getting shocked, and the machine was labeled to go all the way up to lethal shock XXX. Danger, danger, you know, and 2/3 of people would go up and shock the person to that high just because there was a lab, an experimenter in a lab coat saying it's essential that you continue. So that's kind of disturbing. Okay. All right. Okay. The Wanda's, you know, making a bigger gap in her lead there. Okay. I edited that. There's a typo. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So this is good. I'll know what I need to focus on more during today's lecture, but you know, the majority of you got it right. Industrial organizational, or IO psychology, is the kind that focuses on the workplace. It's also, you know, so it's not really surprising that that's the most lucrative field within psychology that you can go into, because that's where you might get hired into the private sector. When I was doing my postdoc, there was one person and she had a PhD who, there were a lot of people on the postdoc, but there was one who had a PhD in clinical psychology like me, and she was being interviewed to be a consultant in a consulting company that sent out their well-trained psychologists to go kind of talk to upper management and help make sure their upper level executives were functioning as well as they could. Because if they are, then the company will make more money. So the company is like highly motivated to get people like that, and they will pay, because if those people can actually make the company's bottom line better, then it's worth it. That's a good return on investment, right? And I just didn't feel like that was gonna be my forte. And I hadn't been trained in it, and neither did my friend. And she's like, well, our clinical skills make us good at that, so you can get into that field, and it would probably make, on average, it would make like at least 30% more than other starting positions in the field, just FYI. Okay. Oh. Congratulations, Wanda. Oh, and Pat Rossetti is the highest climber. I should have had some kind of reward. I don't. Just my sincere congratulations, I guess. Where is Wanda to find you?
Hi.
All right. Oh, hi. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. I think it like summarizes it a little bit. Oh, there's more. Oh, I thought that was the end and you won. Okay, hang tight. All right, yeah. A hypothesis is kind of what you think is going to happen. If you do a study, like if you in senior seminar, I think you guys usually, well, you might replicate a study that's already been done. But what it will say is, like my basic hypothesis for my dissertation was infants whose parents have more enriched interactions with them will show more empathy as toddlers. So that's kind of a prediction, because my theory was that really involved kind of really interactive parents would breed kind of more pro-social behaviors in their children. So I thought if they did that with babies, then by the time empathy could emerge at all, it would show up as more empathic behavior in toddlers. So that's a hypothesis. There are simpler ones, like depressed people won't do as well in school, right? People who drink coffee will be less depressed. Exercise will decrease feelings of anxiety, things like that. Really simple kind of explanations for things that you then test. Okay, but the test itself isn't the hypothesis. Okay. Ooh, Lisbeth, you must have answered that fast. Yes, guys, just guess. Okay. Yeah, a lot of you got it right. It's unconditional positive regard. And that's how, when I was in college, I think my favorite theorist was Rogers, my favorite personality theorist, because, unconditional positive regard, that if you've ever talked about, I want unconditional love, that's where it comes from. Like, I want somebody who loves me no matter what, even if I fail, in spite of my flaws, blah, blah, blah. That's unconditional love. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And, some of the other theories were a little bit more out there to me. And I remember being confused in my personality class because we learned like, 15 theories of personality. And I'm like, well, which one's the one? Why are you teaching us 15 different theories? And it's because different psychologists have different theories, and you have to pick the one you think is best, has the best evidence for it. Okay, so it's unconditional positive regard. Okay, here we go. Oh, Lauren, 8 out of 10. Woo. Wanda. Who's the big winner? Lizbeth. Okay, where's Lizbeth? Let's see. I'm trying to find her. Lizbeth, can you say hi? Because the yellow thing.
Hi.
Congratulations, Lizbeth. And then where's Lauren?
I'm right here.
Where's Lauren?
I'm right here.
Oh, hi, Lauren. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll give you your medals next week, okay? Virtually. All right, so let's see. Did they tell us other things? Oh yeah, it tells us the hardest questions. All right, so the industrial organizational thing. Milgram's, that was just a really picky question. Surprised you guys knew it. All right. Okay, good. Was that fun? Do you guys want to do that again? Somebody suggested it in the welcome survey in another class, and she had suggested it in her other class with me last semester, so I thought I'd try it. So the Kahoots are a go. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that. And then, oops, I didn't open the presentation yet. I'll do it from Oh, I know. Sorry, guys, I should have opened this already. PowerPoint has disappeared. Sorry about my weird chair noises. I'm in a leather chair and I refuse to get rid of it. It's so comfortable. All
It looks comfortable.
right. Thank you. It is. All right, I'm gonna download this. All right. There we go. Okay. Now I'll share screen. Let me just make this smaller. This bigger. All right, sorry about that. Share screen. Okay, you guys can see this. All right, so we didn't get super far, but here's that Skinner box that you saw in the quiz, right? So we're just gonna go super fast through a quick history of psychology, uber fast. And, we're gonna go through these things in a little more detail later on in the semester, so don't worry if, it seems way too fast or if some of it doesn't make perfect sense to you. We're going to go over it in more detail later. Okay. So I'm putting you guys over my slide, so I'm looking at the little one. All right, so behaviorism emerged in the early to mid 1900s. It was based on the idea that, unlike Freud, we should be observing behavior that you can see from the outside, that it didn't make sense to kind of make a bunch of assumptions about things that were going on internally about people that you couldn't even measure and know for sure were correct, right? You had to base what was going on in someone's unconscious by, tons of inference, right? You have to Freud would ask people about their dreams, hypnotize them, have them free associate, meaning say whatever came to their mind in sessions and kind of guess what was going on in their unconscious. Behaviorists thought that was ridiculous. They were like, why would you make up stuff that was supposedly going on in somebody's unconscious and base your whole treatment on that and your whole formulation of their personality and why anything might be going wrong for them? That makes no sense. As scientists, you have to study what you can observe and measure physically. And so they looked at observed behavior and they looked at ways you could control behavior. And then if they put a person or an animal in the same exact situation many, many times and the behavior that they displayed was the same, but then they would change one thing and the behavior would change. And then they did that a bunch of times and the behavior changed each time, then they knew it was that thing they were changing that was changing the person or animal's behavior, right? That's like a really clear, obvious experiment, right? So those are the things that behaviorists studied. And really, behaviorists thought you could learn almost as much about human behavior by studying rats, mice, pigeons, as well as by studying humans. They didn't think it was so important to study humans because the only thing they really had over animals was speech, and they didn't really need to ask humans what they were experiencing internally because they didn't care about measuring that, right? So it focuses on conditioning, reinforcement, and punishment. So conditioning is, somebody learning that two things go together in time, or that when someone or some animal does something, there's a particular reward. It's learning. Conditioning is basically a synonym for learning. So behavioral theories are basically theories of learning. So let's see. The Skinner box, still widely used in research settings today. It's pretty cool. And then they have all kinds of different things, like they still do mazes. You've probably heard about studies that put a rat in a maze and see, what makes them perform better. If you've heard of the Mozart effect, has anyone heard of that? You heard of the Mozart effect?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And what's the general?
It's just the idea that like listening to music makes you smarter, or Mozart in specifically.
Right, and it's based on a study that showed that rats ran mazes more quickly when they were listening to a particular sonata. I forgot which one, or a particular piece of Mozart's. I remember when I taught this, I was teaching this 8 years ago in intro, and they were doing a remake with Yanni. Do you guys know who Yanni is? He's this new age sax player who has these really over the top, he kind of looks like skinny Fabio, he has these over the top musical videos, so I thought that was hysterical because I don't kind of consider it the same as Mozart. But anyway, yeah, so that's a really similar thing that's a really behavioral setup. Somebody who interviewed for a behavioral position here a few years ago had, she had rats that had to find a platform in a tub full of water, and it'd be in a different place all the time, you know, so they're motivated to find the tub of water because the rats get tired swimming around in a tub. They have to swim until they find this little platform they can rest on, and it's slightly underwater and they can't see it. And she could order rats with different genes and see if rats with certain genes learned things with different under different conditions than other gene than rats with other genes. I thought that was super cool. All right, I'm talking too long. Let's move on to humanism. So you just saw Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Humanism was kind of a response to both Freudian theory and behaviorism, because neither of them has like a super favorable view of humanity. Freud thought we were all born totally selfish and had to be socialized to be decent humans. We were all born as ids, you know, as total its, you know, just a bundle of selfish drives and needs, and that's all we cared about. Well, as babies, you know, we would just, if we were hungry, we would scream. If we needed to go to the bathroom, we just did wherever we were. If our parents were tired, we didn't know if our caregivers were tired, and we didn't care. You know, so slowly we figured out, you know, oh, we can only poop and pee here. If we're hungry, we might have to wait. We have to wear clothes, blah, blah, blah. But generally, we're pretty selfish and we're very sexual creatures. And that's mainly what we care about, is getting gratified. Okay, so that's not like the most optimistic view of humans I've ever heard, right? And then there were the behaviorists, and they think we're pretty much like monkeys, you know, cats. They did a lot of cats in puzzle boxes. You know, the cat is motivated to get out of the puzzle box. There's food outside of the puzzle box. The cats are kept hungry on purpose. You know, what makes the cat figure out what they have to do to get out of the puzzle box? They did a lot of stuff like that, rats, pigeons, and they don't think we're much different or better than them. And they don't think we have our own internal motivation or free will. So, for example, if you do something nice for someone, it's not because of altruism. And what is altruism, by the way? What is it to be altruistic? Does anybody know what altruism is?
Because of the context that you're talking about, I will assume that is kind of like taking care of someone else.
Yeah,
like
it's
caring.
Yeah, it's doing something nice to someone else, but the key thing is not expecting anything in return, like Mother Teresa, right? Like, so, you know, I might go feed somebody, or, you know, how, like I had lots of jobs when I was in college that were taking care of people. Like I worked in a residential setting for people with intellectual disabilities, but I got paid. You know, and it's different when you do something just out of the kindness of your heart, and that's altruism. The behaviorists didn't think that existed. They thought we learned to be altruistic because we got good rewards, good things came along with it, not just because we had a natural propensity for it and didn't expect anything in return. And they also thought we didn't have free will, that we didn't like go climb a mountain because we were born with an adventurous spirit. We went and climbed a mountain because we were born into an environment that was a unique environment that rewarded things like that. Okay, so what that means is we're all exactly the same. We're all born exactly the same, a blank slate, a tabula rasa. And there's good things about that, in that we're all equal, but there's bad things about that too, in that like there's no choice in the world, right? That's kind of a depressing idea, isn't it? To have no free will, right? And it's a pretty, especially in our culture, it's pretty valued to have freedom in our particular culture, isn't it? To have the choice, the freedom to pursue happiness, right? That's kind of a big deal here and everywhere. Okay, so that's why the behaviorists are pretty different from the humanists. And I mean, the humanists are different from the behaviorists because they think we have free will and that we have a natural tendency to get better all the time, to want to help each other, to self-actualize. And self-actualization is super hard to explain. And I don't even know if I know what it is completely, because people get PhDs in exactly what self-actualization is. But it's a type of inner fulfillment where people know what their flaws are and they're comfortable with them. But they've also fulfilled their potential in many, many ways. People who are self-actualized also, the kind of the kind of marker of it is that they experience what's called flow. And flow is when you enjoy something that you do in life so much that you lose track of time, that you just, the passage of time becomes unnoticeable to you. So you do something for a long time, you look and you're having a blast, you look up at the clock and you're like surprised by what time it is, right? So maybe musicians, artists, theorists, mathematicians, whatever you do, athletes, you are doing that, you get lost in it, you experience it to such a rich degree that you lose track of the fact that time is finite, and that we're mortal and we have a limited time on earth and a certain number of hours has passed and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's a big part of it. A lot of it is self-acceptance though. And a lot of it is being able to be in the presence of judgment, other people suffering, and still be okay. So it came about in the 1950s. It was pretty big in the 60s, kind of the feel-good era where, I'm okay, you're okay, peace, fighting for peace. I mean, there was Vietnam and et cetera. But in terms of viewing, and I think it might have been a reaction to Vietnam in some ways, trying to view the good in all humans. So you can remember that humanism sounds like that, right? Humanism sounds like the people are proponents of humans, right? Behaviorism, the people are proponents of behavior. So Abraham and Carl Rogers were the most famous humanists, and the hierarchy of needs was that Maslow thought everybody was in constant growth towards self-actualization, but their basic needs had to be met for them to continue on that path. So on the very bottom of that hierarchy is, yeah, that'd be great. Venetia, that'd be great. I just saw the chat. Oh, I'm on the wrong stupid slide, sorry. So at the bottom of the hierarchy is the physiological needs: food, water, shelter, warmth. So like people who don't have food, who are starving, refugees, who don't have a place to live, that's going to interfere with their self-actualization, right? They're not going to have flow. If you're searching for your next meal, it's going to get in the way, and people would ask, if people are so inherently good and always self-actualizing, why is there war? Why is there, why do people steal? Why is there really hurtful behavior? And they would say it's because they haven't had a basic need met. So people steal because they don't have food, or they don't have a roof over their heads, or something has gone horribly wrong otherwise in their lives. And then security. Is somebody safe? Do they have a job? Do they have enough to get by? Social is family, belonging, friends. Esteem is, do they have any self-worth? So you have to have these things to keep growing towards self-actualization. Oh, and very few people achieve self-actualization. People are constantly getting better, getting closer to fulfilling their potential, but very few people meet all of their potential during their lifetimes. Right? And that's not sad. It's still positive because it means everyone's growing. Wouldn't it be kind of depressing if you reached like age 40 and it was like, okay, that's the best you're ever going to be? Good job. You're okay now. You're all right. I think it feels at your age like it's a really exciting time because so much is happening and you're picking careers and picking important paths. And some of you are trying to find significant others and stuff like that. There's this kind of idea that it somehow stops, and it never stops. And that's good news. I think it's harder. The really hard parts of it get a little easier, just FYI. I don't want to depress anybody, but because by the time you're older, you've had enough jobs that you have a stable living condition, and you don't have to rely on other people to have a place to live and stuff. So you get to make your own decisions more. But the part of you that's always growing keeps going. So that's more exciting to me anyway. Then cognitive psychology kind of goes back to internal things a lot, and it gets paired with behavioral theory a lot because of cognitive behavioral therapy. But it's a real departure from radical behaviorism because it goes back to things that happen inside people's minds, right? Because cognition, the study of cognition, is the study of thought itself. So people who study cognitive psychology think about the use of the scientific method and more accept internal states as part of what determines behavior, more so than hi Dados. That's my cat Dados. Dados. Oh well, that's his tail. We call him Dados because he has 9 toes on each of his front paws. So dedos in Spanish is fingers, right? Can mean thumbs. Yeah. So we call him Dados. Where'd it go? Dados, come on. Anyway, there he is. Hopefully you'll see his paws. I have 3 cats, so you'll probably meet them all during the course of the semester. Things that are involved in cognitive psychology involve so many different things. Language, I have friends who have PhDs in language, how language is learned, how different cultures learn languages differently. There's huge differences. A lot of people will study an isolate language, I forgot the name of when I studied in Spain for a semester, and we went to one region in the north of Spain, Basque country, and a lot of the people can speak the regular Castilian Spanish, but there's an isolate language there, Basque. And there's like a lot of controversy there over whether people know the kind of traditional language there, the Basque language. And nobody really knows where it comes from. That's why it's called an isolate. So a lot of people study that language to try to figure out where it comes from. And then perception is a huge field to study within cognitive psychology. How people see things, how people hear things, how taste works. And there was a whole center for visual studies in my graduate program. So people were getting PhDs in the vision, in the psychology of vision. Right? So it's a huge field. Right? And we have a couple cognitive psychologists on staff here. We have cognitive behavioral therapists who teach in the graduate program. And we have cognitive psychologists who teach in the undergraduate program. Okay, so these are some of the early schools of psychology that are still active in terms of people doing therapy. Most therapists today describe themselves as eclectic. And can somebody tell me what that word means, the word eclectic? You may have heard it in terms of fashion or somebody's decorating style, if someone is eclectic. Grace?
I'm pretty sure like it means like you, like I know like collect like older things, right? Like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so it's a collection, right? And it's taking different parts of different categories of things. So if somebody has an eclectic style, they're not just goth, they're not just a soft boy or something. They have parts of different styles that they incorporate together, right? Let's see. And so in psychology, an eclectic therapist doesn't just do Freudian therapy, doesn't just do like ask you for your associations. Like if you say like, oh, I had a really weird dream, blah, blah, blah. They don't just say, oh, what was in the dream? And you say there was a horse in it. And they say, oh, what do horses make you think of? And that's the end of it. Like if the dreams are really disturbing and interfere with your sleep, there might be like a sleep hygiene component to your therapy, stuff like that. If the dream arouses thoughts that make you feel bad about yourself, you might, work on changing those automatic thoughts people have about themselves. So somebody who does all those things is an eclectic therapist. And it's something like 80% of psychologists identify themselves as eclectic now. So there's not just one theory that people use now. If they do, they kind of call themselves radical analysts or, a radical behaviorist, because so few people think there's only one explanation for things anymore. Does that make sense to people? And I like it better because we used to have to kind of argue for which one we thought was right when I was in undergrad and grad, and that was really hard to do, Okay, oh, it's 11. Flow, I've experienced flow. It's already 11. I'm self-actualized. No, I'm not. Believe you me, I am not. But anyway, we will stop there. It looks like everybody but one person did their quiz on time, so good job. And the grades look good. So have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too.
I
Bye-bye.
will send you the video for the
Oh yeah, thank you.
Sure, anytime. Bye-bye.
Bye.